I extend my heartfelt greetings and a very warm welcome to all the viewers watching Soul to Soul Talk Show. In the previous episodes, we had started the journey with Brother Ken O'Donnell, and it's our fortune that he is with us. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother.
Great to be here.
So in the previous episode, we had shared a few more valuable experiences that he has had as a yogi, as a Raj yogi, and from all the experience that you have shared so far on this journey, brother, could you define spirituality?
I think spirituality is the consciousness that you practice, especially in difficult circumstances with difficult people. And when I say that, I remember when a little bit before he was assassinated, the Prime Minister of Israel, Yitzhak Rabin, he had won the Nobel Peace Prize with Arafat.
Mm-hmm.
And so they asked him, why are you making peace with the Palestinians? And he said, well, you don't practice peace with your friends, you practice peace with your enemies. Yeah, it's very easy to be spiritually loving and nice people.
With your friends, right?
Very easy to be spiritual when everything's going smoothly. But the real test of spirituality is when you have a correct response based on virtues in a difficult situation with difficult people. So spirituality is something very practical. I mean, there's a lot of theories around about the soul and about God and about this and about that. But when it comes down to practice, spirituality is something you practice daily on a day-to-day basis, especially in difficult circumstances with difficult people.
And this definition became clear after you met the brahmakumaris, is it?
I would say that it was like I certainly received a huge injection in this direction with the brahmakumaris, because in fact, especially if you live in one of our centers, it's very intense because there's a lot of people, a lot of interaction, a lot of people who are also on a similar journey and going through their stuff individually, and people are complex, and you are also complex, and so so it is a challenge to be with people that you don't choose to be with.
Right.
The circumstances chooses it for you, and therefore you have to adapt. You have to blend. You have to mix. You have to understand. And so blending, mixing, adapting, understanding, accommodating, tolerating, all of that is what spirituality is all about.
Wonderful. Brother, the Brahmakumari Center's headquarters is in Mount Abu. So when was your first visit to Mount Abu, and what was your experience?
It was at the time of Diwali in 1975. And so I said, I think in one of the other episodes, that when I first came, I was the only foreigner.
Foreigner, right.
And so until then, they maybe had seen 2 or 3 others here at the headquarters. And so it was still it was like being an alien from another place, because the founding father had said that foreigners would come, but most people hadn't seen any. Right, and so I would walk across the courtyard up in Pandar Bhavan, which is the only place that existed in those days, in the headquarters. Not this big campus that we have now. It was very small, and it was very, very intimate. And so I was received like a prince, I suppose. That was what I said before.
Right.
But in those days, there would be what we call avyakmulis, which is Baba coming every couple of days through the instrument of Dadi Gulzar. And so that would happen every 2-3 days. And so soon after I got there, a couple of days, I'm in front of Bapdada, or of the Supreme Soul and the Avyak form of Brahma, meeting through Daddy Gulzar. And I got an instruction, and subsequently I met maybe 80 times, I suppose, because in those early days of the service in foreign lands, we would meet every time Baba would come. And so the instruction I got, you go to Australia and you'll bring back a bouquet. I didn't understand what it meant.
Bouquet.
A bouquet of souls. I said, I didn't understand what it meant, because I was actually going to Australia from England, going to Australia, and I would be helping in a centre that was already established. But after, as I said before, after I got there, a couple of weeks later, I'm alone, and I have all of this stuff that belonged to the centre that's being kept in my dad's garage. And then there was some pressure from his side to get this junk out of here. He didn't want us to see all of these tapes and books and blankets and pots and so on, some furniture. So I went and started the centre in another part of town, got a job. And then things started. And the next year I came back here, I had 16 people with me. And Baba said, this is the bouquet. So after 1 year of activities, it probably doesn't seem much in terms of Bharat, but outside of India, it's not easy. It's a very hard ground, very difficult, because the context, the cultural context is completely different, They don't know anything about Lakshmi and Narayan and Shiva and Shankar and all of this sort of stuff. They don't know. So in the early days, I was actually, first of all, we had no Murlis in English in those days. They were only in Hindi. How to give the course. The course that they give in India is very much connected with the mythology.
The devotion that is.
Mythology of Hinduism. And so they're explaining, and it doesn't make any sense to explain these things that people don't know, So I ended up writing a book for my own benefit initially, to understand things and put it in a language that the Westerners could appreciate. It's called New Beginnings. This book is actually sold here.
Yes, it is.
So I wrote that book in 1983, maybe. And in those days, Brother Jagdish Chanda, he was the spokesperson and practically the only writer of books. And in fact, it's the only book that he approved while he was still alive. He didn't, and that had his official approval. Yes, you go ahead and print it. Because Daddy Janki wanted that sort of approval. She's now the director of the brahmakumaris, the administrative head of the brahmakumaris now. Anyway, so I had this desire to help people, to translate all of these great experiences and understanding into a language that people could relate to in that part of the world.
So your meeting with God and His giving you the task of bringing a bouquet, was that the inspiration for you to give your full time and run the center?
Let me tell you. Let me tell you, I never have thought consciously about this. That yes, I'm going to dedicate my life. Never. It seemed just to be natural that this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so it wasn't a conscious decision at all. It seemed like there was a glove in my hand. I just came into it. It seemed to fit. So it wasn't really a conscious decision. Now I'm going to surrender my life to the brahmakumaris. No, I'm just going to do some service, and whatever happens is good.
So you never had a second thought?
Not really.
Or difficulty in taking this decision?
No, not really. Even from, let's say, my parents and friends,
Mm-hmm.
my parents especially had so much trust in me. Even the thing of, because they're not vegetarians, for example,
Mm-hmm.
but because my professional background was in food chemistry. I spent my first 3 or 4 years when I was still studying. I was a trainee as well, and so I worked in a laboratory kitchen. So
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to cook everything. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was a better cook than my mum,
Okay.
actually. So it wasn't a big deal. No, I'll make the food. Don't worry. And of course, the family loved it because I learnt to do exactly how they should do it, like a
Hmm.
chef, you know. Because the work was in a kitchen, which was a laboratory. So we'd make things and then we'd study them and analyze them, that sort of thing.
Nice.
So, so I don't think it created any confusion, really.
Hmm.
And of course, we learn here that we should always be respectful, right? And so there was respect. And the thing about friends was that I'd been away for 2 years, and when I came back, all of my friends had, they'd gone.
Okay.
They were not around anymore. They because I was living out in an area of town which was very hard, and so if anyone went to study at university, they had to move,
Mm-hmm.
and they couldn't stay where we used to live.
Okay.
There were no universities nearby.
Hmm. Has it affected your friendship? Your
Well, I
staying
mean,
at the
the only
center?
friends I ended up having um, are within the brahmakumaris.
Okay.
The friends before then,
Hmm.
you see, I'd been away for 2 years. I came back already starting a center of the brahmakumaris in
Hmm.
Sydney.
Okay.
So I couldn't find them anyway. Where are they? I don't even know.
Hmm. And did you face any challenges while running the center as a surrendered brother?
Oh, yeah. I mean, challenges are there, but I would say that mostly, not mostly, 100% of the challenges are from ourselves.
Hmm.
Because people are, if someone's having a strange or wrong attitude, it's because of something they're going through. It's nothing to do with me. So if someone is angry, it's their own problem, not my problem. You know what I mean? So even if they're angry with me, I try to see what's behind that. They're probably frustrated with themselves, or something's not working, or
Hmm.
they've come against a big obstacle in their thinking or in their lives, and that's why they're irritated or angry, or
Hmm.
So I try to see the what's behind it, and that brings out the compassion. So any challenges is from ourselves, and let's say a challenge is thinking too much
Hmm.
about the same thing. That's a challenge. So how do I reduce the thinking? How do I, instead of thinking 10 times, I think once to decide what I have to do? So that's the sort of challenge.
Hmm.
Um,
Working on yourself.
Working on myself,
Hmm.
and to like in meditation,
Mm-hmm.
how to keep really concentrated. That's the sort of a challenge for me.
Hmm.
So that the image that I like um, actually comes from the time that I was studying the Upanishads and so on. That you get a cow and you tie the cow to a post or a hook in the
Hmm.
ground,
It can only
and
cover a certain
there's
circumference, right?
some field around which the cow can eat
Hmm.
the grass. Um, you won't tie the cow into the jungle, right? There's very little it can eat. Well, the owner of the cow will find a place that
Right.
has nice grass, and so concentration is first of all to create a field
Hmm.
that you feel comfortable in. Let's say 5 or 6 ideas you want an experience in meditation. I want to experience, for example, God's love. Okay, really experience it. So there are 4 or 5 ideas that will help me with that. So that's like the grass, and I don't move out of that field. And finally, I decided, no, one of these experiences, one of these ideas is very interesting, so I'll go deeper into that. And so to keep that sort of a concentration and to leave the thinking and go into the experience to the extent that you don't think anymore, that for me is a challenge.
Do you still face that challenge?
I think with the time you can easily do it very quickly.
So how long did it take for
But
you to...
you know, if there's a lot of activities, then you do get influenced by just by the rushing around, you know. So to keep stability no matter what's going on, that's a challenge.
It's a lot of practice.
It takes practice. I wouldn't say it's a challenge anymore.
Okay.
If you ask Daddy Janky about challenges, she won't even recognize the word. You know, she will say, what do you mean a challenge? There's no challenge. So very early on, I had an experience in which I would say, at the time I started with brahmakumaris, I was working as a musician. And musicians, normally their hours are late at night and early morning. So I was used to going to sleep at the time that I had to get up. Yeah? I mean, I was working because I needed some money. And they're the times that musicians work in clubs and so on. And so I'd saved up enough money, and I was already thinking about going back to Australia. So this was in August, and in November I came to India and went back to Australia. So for a few months. So I started to get up very early and go to the class for the 6 o'clock class and have early morning meditation. And I must admit that was probably a big change, you know. The timings, big change. But after some time it was okay. But in the first couple of weeks I was really drowsy around 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So one day I remember I went to have a rest. And I woke up and I went to the kitchen to make a cup of tea. And I was, you know, still a bit groggy from, you know, very deep sleep. 1 hour, it was like I was hit by a truck. So I was, you know, a bit groggy, and I went into the kitchen. I was in that half sleepy state, and I turned around and the wall became a scene.
Oh.
And what I saw, first of all, I saw myself dressed in white. And if you remember from a previous episode, I said that I had not done the course.
Yes.
So you know, the concepts were familiar, but I could not say that after 2 weeks that anything was really clear. But I saw myself dressed in white in a situation where there was some sort of an earthquake or something. People were falling in a big crack that had opened in the earth. And I saw myself sort of above that, in a subtle state, telling people, don't worry, the soul doesn't die. You're just going back home. Don't worry, the soul doesn't die, you're just going back home. And I was looking at people with a lot of love, and I didn't know what drishti was in those days. Drishti is like looking at people very consciously with that spiritual love. I didn't know what it was, but I saw myself doing that. And I would say that from that moment, if that was, maybe I was seeing something in the future because I saw myself older and dressed in white.
Older than you are now?
I can't remember the exact, but certainly older than when I was then.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly, but I knew that it was me in the future, telling people, don't worry, The soul doesn't die, just going back home. And then it finished. So I would say that that's very much connected with my purpose, because in understanding my purpose, I started to see, first of all, in those early days, there was a lot of work to translate these concepts into an appropriate form for Westerners. And so I would say that my purpose is to understand the deeper truth of things and share it with others. And that hasn't changed. And the symbol that I like, that tells me that I'm supposed to be doing this all the time, is a lighthouse. Because you don't put a lighthouse in a safe harbor. You put normally a lighthouse in a place where there's a lot of waves and a lot of danger for boats. So I've never been someone to stay in the same place. And I've always been, let's say, aligned to this purpose. I wouldn't say 100% all the time, no, that would be ridiculous. But always I've been connected and close to this purpose of understanding the things that are true and sharing them with others.
This elevated purpose that you've set, did you have anyone, any role model who inspired you in setting that?
I would say that when I first came to the centre in London, there were 3 sisters there. And they were not daddies. It was Daddy Janki in those days was Janki Ben, right?
Okay.
And Sudesh Ben and Jenti Ben. So 3 sisters. And of course, Daddy was the older one. But I was struck by their purity and their sincerity and their desire to serve. Because as you remember, I travelled a lot and I saw a lot of different traditions. And I saw a lot of people talking great things. But I hadn't really felt that vibration of purity anywhere that I found in that place. When I first went to the centre, it was Sudesh Ben who was who's now in Germany and in London, going between. Sister Jenti, of course, is still there in London, and Daddy has come back to India. But this vibration of purity was very, very impactful on me. Had a great influence. I guess just by being there, they were so patient with us, because we were really, the students, perhaps we were coming out of a very crazy world, I suppose. And then I started to come to Mount Abu. And in those days, Daddy Janki had visa problems, and so we didn't see her for 3 years. So I had a very close connection with Daddy Prakash Mani, because in those early days of service in foreign lands, Daddy Prakash Mani was also responsible for that, not Daddy Janki. That came later. And so my connection was with Daddy Prakash Mani and Didi Manmohini and Ramesh Bhai, who seemed to help Daddy a lot in those, in those early days of service outside of India. Daddy Prakash Mani, her way of dealing with things and loveful and, very considerate. Like one time I had a back problem. I was in the bed for a few days, and she came to the room to see if everything was okay. And in those days, in fact, we didn't even have classes here. We had meetings. We would have chit chats with these senior sisters and long meditation centers. I don't really remember classes, but certainly those 4 people had a very strong influence on me. And then subsequently, you know, I've tried to, not tried to, I would say I understand that even their virtues are from Baba, so from God. So my big role model is God.
Mm-hmm. And what message would you like to give our viewers to, from all the experiences that you've shared with us?
I would say that, you know, anyone can change. Anyone can be transformed, and you don't have to become a visitor from another planet to do that. As I said before in one of the episodes, um, if you want to change your life, you have to change your attitude towards it. Improve the quality of your sleep, improve the quality of your thinking about your work, improve the quality of your relationship with your family, improve your thinking about yourself, improve, you know, your food, so that you make it the most pure possible. Then you'll be doing benefit to yourself, and by doing benefit to yourself, you'll be doing benefit to the people around you. So don't ever be afraid or think that you can't do it. In fact, I don't consider myself to be particularly special, and if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's what I'm saying. You know, don't think that you have to be a complete yogi to even start. You'll probably never start. You go little by little, step by step, and then you start experience and practice and understanding. Understanding, practice, experience. Understanding, practice, experience, and then you move forward. So don't be afraid to change.
Wonderful. So, as given by this elevated well-wisher brother Ken, that you need to change your attitude to change your life in a positive way. And as told by brother, that spirituality is not something that you shift it to your swinging 60s, but it's just a consciousness that will help you to face difficult people and difficult situations. So we wish that this journey covered with brother Ken has been helpful to you in say changing your outlook on spirituality, and we hope to meet you in the forthcoming episodes with many more such eminent personalities. Thank you, brother, for joining us in this journey.
Thank you, viewers. I think you've been very patient with me.
No, we are very fortunate to have you with us, brother.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for joining us. Have a great day.